Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Gravy Griffin 32 and it says, am I the arsehole for not wanting to give my mum 90% of the inheritance? My grandma is leaving me. Honestly, I don't think I'm in the wrong here. I'm more so looking for advice and outside opinions. Or maybe I'm actually a terrible person and this will just be an eye-opener. Either way, here's the info. My grandma is going to be leaving each grandchild $100,000, which was originally supposed to go to my mum and aunt. But my grandma changed the will to spite them because their relationship is complicated. My mum was depending on that for retirement since, for reasons I don't think I need to get into, but is related to my grandma. Her and my dad's entire 401k was drained about 10 years ago. My dad works full-time with constant overtime, and my mum hasn't worked in over 15 years and only just applied for disability recently. Their stocks are nosediving, but they'll be selling the house and downsizing later on, and the house is worth roughly $350,000. My mum says she'll give me $10,000 of it, but honestly, I want closer to $40,000. I have a fraction of what she wants to give me in saving, and more would be life-changing. I could even consider getting a house in the next couple of years, rather than wait until I am 50. The thing is, this money will go directly to me. She doesn't get to intercept it, so I could just take what I want and give them the rest. The problem with that is, I love my parents, and I want a good relationship with them. And if I try to take more money, they'll likely hate me. My mum has done nothing but constantly guilt-trip me leading up to this, and on top of that, my dad's name is on my car registration, so they could take my car. If that happens, I won't be talking to them anytime soon, and I don't think they want that either, so they probably won't try to take my car. Maybe $10,000 is plenty and I'm just being greedy. My relationship with my parents is important to me, but even double would completely change my life. I just want to hear what other people think. Maybe that's a bad idea, but I'm so lost right now. Edit. Okay, wow. This is a bit overwhelming. Here's a bit more info for some more context. My grandma hasn't passed yet, but she has a stroke and does not have the mental capacity to change the will. So the people calling us both vultures. You crazy? Of course I'm trying to plan before this storm hits. I can't just hoard the money and tell my mum I'll think about it. I need to have a plan now before my grandma dies, and so my mum doesn't think I'm keeping all the money for me while I think. My grandma also didn't loot my parents' 401k. They went to court because my grandma sued my mum. It's really complicated, and even I don't know all the details, so I left it out. Edit 2. Didn't think I left out that many details. Sorry guys, but this post wasn't made for validation. I don't even really agree with the whole take the money and run crowd. I was 9 when my grandma sued my mum. I don't know what happened. All I know is that my grandpa died in the middle of their divorce, and he was going to leave my mum money. My grandma changed the will because she still had access to it, and their relationship was terrible at the time, and still is. I haven't talked to my grandma since I was 11, since my mum wouldn't let me. My mum tried to take some things out of the house that my grandpa wanted her to have, and my grandma sued her. My mum was held in contempt of court and lost everything in savings. That's genuinely all I know. I live states away from my parents and I'm in my 20s and they're in their 60s. I have a brother, so they're already getting $90,000 from him. Also, this is overwhelming as hell. Please contain the wild Reddit warrior attitude. I didn't post this for funsies and there are some wild comments on the post. Edit 3. Some people have brought up my mum's unemployment, so let me elaborate on that a bit. She used to have her own business that made her over $1 million in salary, which is what she's told me. The court case was so traumatizing for her that she stopped working and quit her business. She was never a stay-at-home mum before this happened. Both my parents worked and my mum was the breadwinner. Lonely World says, not the arsehole. The money was left for you. Your explanation and fears perfectly describe why your grandma decided to skip her children and gift it to her grandchildren. Take 100% of it. Do not share it. If your parents take the car, buy a new one. Well, a used one. I would invest 80% of it smartly and keep the rest in something more stable and liquid, like CDs. had to Google what the CDs was, and it says certificates of deposit. My dumbass thought, he's not telling him to invest in the Spice Girls album, is he? Or something like that. I'm a bloody idiot. Bogwitch says, not the arsehole unless you undermine your grandmother's dying wishes. If your parents are threatening and manipulating you with guilt and a looming vehicle loss, take the money and run. This money was your grandmother's, and any expectations your mother had are a moot point. There is a reason your grandmother chose to give this to you. Honor her in her passing and make an impact with that money. Do not pass it off to your parents who clearly struggle to take responsibility for their life and protect their children. Your mother blaming your grandmother for a financial situation should not fall on you. Imagine the repercussions of you passing this money to your mum. It could have the consequence of you resenting your mum down the line, repeating this pattern of mother-daughter financial dynamics. Your grandma has given you a blessing. Receive it. Hefty Squirrel says, not the arsehole, I'm a retired lawyer. Your grandmother did it for a reason, and it was her money. She's allowed to give it to whomever she wants. She chose to give it to you. Your only obligation is not to piss it away. Put it in a good retirement account and let it grow. That is what she would want. It was the same story from all of my estate planning clients. They wanted it to go to whomever they wanted and hoped that the beneficiary did something meaningful with it. So see a competent investment advisor and invest it. Even though the stock market is down, this is the perfect opportunity. And one more comment from Melodic Giraffe who says, if I were in your shoes, I'd go to the courthouse where your grandma sued your mum and ask to see the file or get copies of it. If you're entertaining giving your mum any money because of the lawsuit, you deserve to know exactly what happened and how much money your mum had to pay her. This may very well change what you decide to do. I think your mum is being manipulative. Ask her for all the details and also seek out information on your own. See if the story matches the facts. Not the arsehole, but please protect yourself. Opie adds their first update within the same post and says, I talked to my aunt about this whole thing and just wow. To start, my mum has issues that run deep. I get that now. She's manipulative, entitled, and everything must be exactly as she wants it. But it's genuinely not her fault with the personality disorders she has and childhood trauma from my grandparents. I don't blame her. My grandmother was a terrible person who also has personality disorders and passed a lot of those behaviors to my mother. The executor for the will is some guy from church, so if that doesn't tell you what kind of person my grandma was, I don't know what will. I won't get into it too much, but my grandma did things during the court case that should have held consequences. But she got everything she wanted because she had a great lawyer, and my mum had a terrible lawyer. Yes, my mum was held in contempt of court for taking things out of the house, but my grandma did the same thing and had no consequences when the house wasn't supposed to be touched by anyone. My grandma was in assisted care at the time, so she wasn't even living there. My grandma sued my mum over the inheritance she got from my grandfather, and they changed the ruling of his will to favor my grandma. His inheritance also wasn't much. It was a life insurance policy, and he left everything else to my grandma, so my mum couldn't have used it to retire in the first place. My parents have a history of making terrible financial decisions, and I will not be letting them guilt me into this. My mum has asked my aunt for money countless times, and due to their strained relationship, she was in no contact with her for most of my childhood. My mum is in intense therapy and has been getting better, but this whole thing is causing one hell of a remission. My grandma will most likely be passing within the next few days. She's showing end-of-life signs, and my aunt says she'd be surprised if she lives another week. My aunt will not be taking the inheritance from her children and was appalled at what my mum was doing. I have an ally in all of this, and I finally have someone who understands exactly how my mother can be. My aunt doesn't know how much inheritance we'd get for sure, but she knows we'll be getting some, and I don't plan to give my mother the majority, if any. So at some point after that, Opie came in with another update and says, brief chronological recap with some new details I've learned. My grandpa died about 12 years ago and left my mum and my aunt his life insurance policy. Everything else went to my grandma since he felt like he owed her. They were mid-divorce during his passing, so he didn't want to see her because they had a complicated relationship. My grandma was incredibly selfish and wanted everything he had, so she made a case that he was not clear of mind and was being manipulated by their daughters. He absolutely wasn't. I was around during his death and he genuinely didn't want to see her. My grandma was staying in assisted living after breaking her hip, and the house was supposed to be off limits to all parties during the case. My grandma had a great lawyer while my mum's wasn't the best. Both my mum and grandma had gone into the house and had taken things during the court case. My grandma did not get in any trouble, but my mum did, and then didn't return the items because they were of high sentimental value. Yes, my mum is that sentimental. Because of that, my mum was held in contempt of court and lost the case. My mum for some reason was depending upon inheritance for retirement and continued to do so, even after my grandma took what she got from my grandpa. The court case lasted 3 years in total, and her attorney fees were somewhere around $60,000. I believe she had to pay my grandmother's as well, not 100% sure, but hers were around $100,000. All in all, even those totaled shouldn't have drained both my parents' 401ks. If they actually knew how to handle money, which I've learned from my aunt, they don't. My mother's $1 million business was a very stretched narrative. She never made that much, but she did make a good amount. Either way, during and after the court case, she has since stopped working for a total of roughly 12 years. I think I overestimated it in the last post. For the past 2 years, my mother has been hounding, guilt-tripping, and completely manipulating me into giving 90% of the inheritance she thought my brother and I were getting, which was supposedly $100,000. Originally, I was completely okay with that, but after the first post and a good therapist, mostly the therapist, I don't trust Reddit's opinions that much, I've come to realize how dysfunctional our relationship is. My mother was raised by a family who expected their children to give back to them. Stealing inheritance is not a new occurrence in my family. This shit is unfortunately a generational occurrence. Sorry for the not so brief recap. On to today's news. About a week after the original post, my grandma passed, and I've been waiting in complete terror to see how my mother would handle me keeping the money. I believed our entire relationship hinged on this, and despite everything, I still love my mum. Turns out, my grandma donated it all to charity. I couldn't be more fucking relieved. Unfortunately, my mum thinks she was manipulated. Could be possible. My aunt said that might have happened too, and she's gonna try and fight it in court. I wish she would just stop, but she believes wholeheartedly this is her money. I'm a bit disappointed since this could have been a great jumpstart for retirement or a house down payment, but so be it. I'm less stressed either way. Now the question is, if she argues in court it should go to the grandkids and wins. I kinda have to give it to her at that point, right? I mean, she's the one paying for it, so there's no way morally I see keeping it being the right answer in that situation. But there's no lawyer dumb enough to take the case. She clearly doesn't have the money for this. Thanks to everyone's replies to the original post. Really helped me come to a clearer understanding of my relationship with my mum. And we're just going to cover the top comment on this one, who says, although it's more likely that your grandmother's wishes will stand and the estate will go to charity. If your mother argues in court that it should go to the grandkids, and if she wins, then the court will not award a penny of the estate to her. It will award the estate to the grandkids, of whom you are but one, and it's up to the heirs to decide what they wish to do with their share. You will owe her nothing, and if you choose to take the money, change your name and retire to Costa Rica, good on you. It's just one arsehole in your saga, but it isn't you. And that was kind of my thought, even if she does decide and does win, which it sounds like there's no way she's going to be able to get that money back in any way. Eventually it's going to come to you and you're just in the same position again, and you already knew what your decision was going to be. So, let her carry on with what she's going to do. And I'm glad everything, maybe some of the Reddit comments, your therapist has given you some light to your actual relationship with your mum. It's always hard to accept. We see it time and time again, how difficult these family relationships can be and dealing with them. But it sounds like you're on the right track. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit, and it says, am I the arsehole for not giving some of my wedding budget to my sister? My fiance Sarah and I are planning our wedding. We got engaged 2 weeks ago, so we are not still aware of how much it will cost, but we have a budget of about a bit over 100k. Sarah wants the best of everything and won't settle for anything cheap. We also would like to go on a month-long honeymoon to France, Italy, Greece, and Portugal. And I said we are not aware of how expensive it will be, but we won't be getting married for at least 2 years, so I can save more if needed. My family asked about our plans and weren't happy to hear it. My mum called it wasteful and said we could use the money for something better. I asked, like what? And she said, like helping your sister. My sister's husband recently left her with 3 kids and won't pay child support, so she is struggling, and I understand this, and I'm sorry she's going through this. I try to help her sometimes by taking the kids out for dinner or something like that, but apparently it's not enough. I've already told Sarah about her budget, and she's so excited to plan our dream wedding, so I don't think it's fair to tell her it's no longer possible. My family thinks I'm an arsehole. And there was a mixed bunch of comments on this one. We're just going to try and cover some from some different sides here. Trinatone says, the kind of people who would spend $100K on a wedding while their family members are going to a food bank are not my kind of people. Everything about this post, including Sarah, who wants the best of things and won't settle for anything cheap, is obscenely entitled and superficial. The marriage, statistically, won't last anyway. Another commenter says, nothing lasts forever. Life changes. OP could become paralyzed tomorrow or sustain a traumatic brain injury, leaving him unable to earn. Something tells me Sarah won't be sticking around when the worst part happens. Final Figure says, whilst I think that spending $100K on a wedding is insane, this is your money. You spend it how you wish to. Your parents should direct their anger at the man who walked out on his 3 kids and won't pay child support. Why aren't they taking him to court? Not the arsehole. Opie says they are trying. Opie updates and says, so my parents have decided not to attend my wedding. They think it's wasteful and they won't support it. My fiance went no contact with her own family years ago, so if none of our parents are going to attend, then what is the point of throwing a wedding? She is very upset. I told her that it's okay. If no one wants to support us, then we will elope. We're going to use our wedding budget for our honeymoon as well. This seemed to cheer her up as she has been busy replanning our honeymoon. I told my parents that the wedding is cancelled and they told me I made the right decision and asked if I can help my sister now. I said no. They ruined my wedding plans, so from now on they can't expect anything from me. I'll prioritize myself because apparently no one else will. Ugly replies that saying, so I gather that your sister is the golden child then. Absolutely not the arsehole. Enjoy eloping, and I hope you have a fantastic honeymoon. Pale Effect says, the sister is the child in shit currently, with 3 kids and an absent father that doesn't pay child support. It's not about golden BS. It's simply that one of their children is currently suffering, including 3 grandchildren, and they ask the other child to help. The other child has more than the means to help. The other child has $100K to throw away on a wedding. The type of person that helps their siblings versus the type of person that would prefer to instead of spend the money on a party. Tangerine says, Opie has commented elsewhere that they've already given their sister $7K in the past 6 months. Sleepy Snorlax says, there is balance. That alone is how I end up living in a world full of arseholes. You can't always get your way. Healthy relationships require give and take. What kids should be taught is, helping others and being generous is good, but you don't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. You need to take care of your health, mental health included, before helping others. Just like the oxygen masks on the plane. You are allowed to ask, but healthy relationships respect boundaries and the word no. And the comments were all over the place on this one. Some people find it difficult to judge because they say that they would help their sister in that situation. Others saying, it's his money. Good on him for having $100K and being able to spend it on the wedding. It's his choice. But what would you react in that situation? How would you feel about it? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Nan's Treasure from the Best of No Updates subreddit. And it says, am I the arsehole for refusing to forgive my parents over something they lied about over 10 years ago? When I was a young girl, I used to spend a lot of time with my Nan. She had a big collection of jewelry that I would beg to see. So each time I came over, we would sit down at her vanity and she would show me each piece. There was one bracelet that stood out to me. It was gold with red stones on it, and I used to believe that my Nan had to be a magical queen because a bracelet like that would obviously contain powers. She died when I was 8 years old. My mother brought back her jewelry box and I pleaded to keep that bracelet. Neither parent thought it would be worth more than its weight because a lot of her jewelry was just cheap accessories, so they let me keep it. Fast forward a couple of years, my mum and dad went to a wedding of my mum's cousins, where her aunt gave her a photo book with old family pictures of my nan as a girl with her family. In one of the pictures is my great nana when she was 20s wearing that bracelet, which spiked their interest. So they went and got it looked at. Turns out it was pricey. They never told me the amount. They sat me down when they got back and said because it was worth so much it was too risky for me to wear, and promised when I was an adult I can have it back. I got one last look at it and it was gone. Obviously, I was very sad, but I had never forgotten. I asked when I was 18 and they told me to wait until I'm 21. I asked them last week and they finally admitted that they sold it the same week that I saw it. But they said the money went on our trip to Disney World. That bracelet is one of the only memories I have with Nan, and it's gone. I don't want to forgive them. Would that make me the arsehole? Nah, and I think you're totally justified to feel upset in this situation. They sold it for a Disney trip, I mean. And the thing that's really upsetting is that they strung you along for all this time. You asked you was 18, at 21, and it's clearly been on your mind for a very long time, so they must have known how special this was to you. Android says, not the arsehole. What they've done is absolutely appalling. It's a bit early to say you'll never forgive them. Never is a long time, but it's reasonable and understandable that you would be upset. You should take whatever time you need to grieve over this loss of connection. Opie says, I know never is a long time, but I just feel like this is one of those things I will never get over, Thanks for your input. Hannah's Flora says, not the arsehole. They took it from you for the sole purpose of selling it. No doubt they assumed or hoped you'd forget about it by the time you were 18. And when you asked them at 18, they still didn't come clean. It doesn't matter that the money went towards a trip to Disney World. That bracelet wasn't theirs to sell. I'm so sorry that happened. Snoop Pepper says this. I could soften it if it was sold because the money was needed for like rent or mortgage in a time of despair, but Disney? That is just crap, especially the sentimental value you had about it. I'm not usually one to preach this. I would have a real hard time forgiving this. Opie says, and to be honest, it was a pretty meh trip. Yes, it was fun at times, but we had the bad luck at going what felt like a heat wave. We are British, so the heat was so extra. My dad hates queues, so anything with a long line he wouldn't wait for, and I think the hotel ate up most of the budget. I've had camping trips to the seaside that were loads more fun than that. I love Broccoli says info, but also not the arsehole, just curious. Do you have any other siblings? Still doesn't make it right, but they could have thought that the trip made it more fair for everyone. Did they have money problems? Were they ever quick to sell other things? Have they said sorry at all or tried to make it right? Opie says they both work, and I've never known them to scrimp and save, so I doubt they had money troubles. They did have a bad habit of not letting us keep the toys we grew out of. Anything in good condition was put on eBay. They even would keep the original packaging for toys when we got them and wouldn't let us open them so they could keep the box looking tidy. Not for every toy, but mostly dolls and DS. My brother was 3 at the time and stayed at home when we were at Disney, so he did not gain from it. They have said sorry, but they just keep trying to justify it, and they don't even get why I'm still mad because they believe that because I enjoyed the trip, then it's all good. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. How would you feel in that situation? Would you be able to eventually move past this or not? Part of me was wondering, I wonder if there's a way to track it down. I mean, it's years ago, so probably not, but it would be interesting. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.